Good afternoon, good morning, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to Banner and Backbone. I'm Nick Perro. I'm going to be joined here very shortly in the next few minutes by Zev Shalev. And we're going to be doing a special Powerful Voices episode on the Puppet VP and or JD Vance. We're going to be talking JD Vance today. We're going to be talking about what's going on with him, with his connections to Peter Thiel and the Epstein world, and really how disgusting of a human being JD Vance really is, and why he also needs to go down with this administration and the destruction that they're doing to our country. So, hi, everyone. Welcome as you come on in. Again, I'm Nick Perro. Hit that heart button, hit the subscribe in the top corner, left corner if you're on Substack, hit that Chiron, subscribe to myself, Banner and Backbone, and Zev Shalev. Join us for today's discussion. We're going to be talking a lot about JD Vance. There is a ton of information out there about him. And there's a lot of connections he has with Peter Thiel, with different funds that are buying up and taking over agriculture and industry, and trying to impoverish our farmers. If you have never heard of Acre Trader, I would take a look into it. So we're going to be here to talk about JD Vance and all of that connection today. So just getting a little bit of an intro in. Zev will be here in about 5 minutes for us. It's not going to be a terribly long episode today, but we're going to have a good discussion on JD Vance. And I'm just pulling up some notes here around Vance and some of the companies he works in, and some of the areas he's really just like tied himself into, where he's been couched right now. And yes, I'll use that term purposely, where he's been couched at the moment right now so that he can come in and fill the position as the next king, as the next leader, as whatever they want to call themselves, the next fascist prick that wants to take over our country, is JD Vance. And he is pretty much owned, bought, and paid for by Peter Thiel. And we don't really know what JD Vance believes in, because he doesn't really believe in anything. He's a chameleon. He's slimy. He's pretty gross. I talked about him a little bit earlier today, and some of the rumors and I guess possibilities that are being considered around what's going on with JD Vance and his wife Usha Vance, and how that ties into Erica Kirk, and what that looks like in the next steps. And is there truth to the rumor of Usha leaving JD and JD marrying Erica? I don't know if there's any truth to the rumors, but it's a very straightforward path that we would be able to see linked in that. And if there are, and it looks like, thank you, American Citizen, for putting the information in the chat there, and that note is around Al Green putting forward articles of impeachments, which I think exactly should be done. I think we absolutely need to impeach both Trump and Vance and the entire administration, as well as convict and then civilly and legally prosecute them, and hold up and prosecute them for crimes against the Constitution. And so we know Trump. Trump is the enemy we know. Trump is the gigantic asshole that is ruining our lives. He is the face of the hate. He embodies a lot of it. So he really is the hate himself. Um, and and so we know Trump, but not a lot of people know much about Vance. He's slimy, he's very unpredictable. Um, but the one thing we do know, like the biggest and easiest thing we do know about Vance, is he's tied to the money. He's in it for profit, he's in it for himself. And if it's going to make him more, he's going to do it. And so I want to make sure that we talk specifically about Vance today because he's the next step. We know that Trump is old. We don't know if how long he has. I think articles of impeachment are a good thing to be putting forward for the entire administration and everyone involved in what's going on with Vance, or what's going on with this administration, Project 2025, the destruction of America in general, the anti-constitutional behavior that's going on, the bro-oligarchy. There's a lot there. There's a lot that is connecting Vance to a lot of the things in the background too. So before we go into Vance's, or before I go too much into Vance's like personal ownership in companies such as AcreTrader, let's answer one or two questions in the chat real quick. Stall for just a couple moments to help give Zev some last minute to get on with us. And so here, the question in the chat is Erica pregnant? Erica Vance pregnant? The rumor was she was. The rumor is she's pregnant. That is a rumor made up by somebody else. She went out and said, "I wish," like the last thing she wished was that she was pregnant and that it was she had prayed to God to be pregnant, but she's not. And it was a very odd statement to make. And I'm going to bring on my friend Zev Shalev here to talk about it with me. I cannot.
There you go.
So there we go.
Hello. Sorry.
Welcome.
How am I loud? You? Am I very loud?
No, you sound fine to me.
Okay, good. I'm good. How are you doing, Nick? Sorry, I'm late. I was writing.
No worries. Yeah, well, I'm glad I got you for a little while. It's great to have you on, as always, and get to be able to talk about some of this stuff. And so I was just giving everyone an intro really into the enemy we know of Donald Trump. But that's not the enemy we need to focus on right now, because there's a lot of us already doing work around Trump, but it's Vance that's really the next threat, and he's an unknown. And I named it the Puppet VP for today because that's what he is. And he's bought and paid for. And we were just getting into some of that underlying bought and paid for around Peter Thiel and its connection to the Epstein network and that sex trafficking and money laundering network, but also into groups like AcreTrader, and how that is impacting policy through illegal means with ownership that he should have divested, and not be promoting. So welcome.
Thank you.
And I want to get some of your initial thoughts into some of what I just introed for you.
You know what? You're absolutely right. You know, I think we're looking at a presidency that is floundering. And the more I just posted a piece on this. It's one of the reasons I'm a little late. Is I had to get this out. That I think we're in this moment where we can't actually allow this regime to stand at all. You know, there's no redeeming quality about anybody in this regime. You look at that line of succession through their cabinet, and it's just disaster after disaster. And so we cannot allow this regime to stand, and that includes Vance. And I know we originally discussed talking about Vance, but I just think there's no chance for any of these people to stay in government, and they shouldn't. They're criminals. They're crooks. They're illegitimately there. They probably stole the election in the first place. They have no right to be there. They should be in prison. And for them to be out there publicly holding office and making demands and anything else is untenable for the American people and against the Constitution. So I wrote a piece this morning saying that we need, I robbed it off Obama and Martin Luther King, but Junior, the title is The Fierce Urgency of Now, and how important it is that Democrats seize this opportunity to turn 2026 into a presidential election. Because in
Yeah.
fact, in next year, in 11 months, we have an opportunity as American people to impeach and convict this current president and his entire regime, and appoint through election, through a democratic election, through the House, another president, a new president that can be anybody. It does not have to be a Democrat, does not have to be a Republican. Ideally, I think it will be a Democrat, because that is, anyone who has legitimacy. But that is where I think we need to go as a country facing enormous pressure in every regard. We cannot continue to have a presidency that is so immoral, that is bankrupt politically, that is bankrupt ethically, that is spiritually bankrupt, that is about to be revealed as part of a pedophile and financial criminal network that has been going back decades. I mean, there's just no redeeming quality here for this presidency to continue. And 26 is the moment. 26 is when we need the president to be elected. And we need democratic leaders to stop focusing on 28 or whatever it is they're focusing on, and get into the business of building coalitions, get into the business of building campaigns around impeaching this president and moving on.
I think that's fantastic. I think I like what you're talking about. It's similar to what Shane Urich and I have talked about, and me and Sherrod Sweeney at Centered America have talked about, is a 20-month versus 20-year plan. Not even 20 months, but 11-month plan.
Yeah.
Realistically, versus a 20-year or even 50-year plan. And I think you're exactly right on that. We have the opportunity right now too, and I want to get your thoughts on this, because you've spoken to Lev before, and you and Dean have spoken about this a little bit too, is the fracturing that's going on in MAGA and how that can be used to an advantage. Yes, political advantage. We are talking political advantage right here. We need to win politics right in this country. We need to politically win, not just morally win. Is how do you see, or what do you see happening here soon, now that Marjorie Taylor Greene is stepping aside?
Well, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene
stepping aside is like, she's going to do it at the right time to get her pension and fully vested. And
I actually think there's much more to that. I think she's positioning herself to lead the center. She's a political machine. She's a very politically astute congresswoman who knows the political winds, who understands that the president is done. She is positioning herself, and I think a large faction of Republicans, to take the center and to potentially maintain a Republican leadership in the House, but only from the middle, and still run against the president. And that's a possibility that I think Democrats do not really understand. I think that they're sort of locked into this vision of politics that are just not, they're not practical and not strategic, and not thinking about what the reality of this moment is. And that Democrats, if it's Gavin Newsom, or it could even be Barack Obama, it could be Michelle Obama, it could be anybody who wants to do this, Buttigieg, Wes Moore. I can think of so many names that you would want to consider for this kind of urgent and important work of uniting this country and bringing us forward. And why I say it's important that we unite the country and we don't allow Marjorie Taylor Greene to fashion a faction into the Republican leadership here is because we need 67 votes to convict in the Senate. That is a very high burden. That is and it should be a very, very high bar, which should not be easily reached.
Especially when we're going to be talking about treason.
In this case, it is reachable, I think, and we need to get there. And so we need Democrats who understand how to build these coalitions, who understand how it's going to require, even if we have a phenomenal year in next year's elections, and Democrats get to 56, 57, it's still not enough. You still need 10 Republicans who are going to work with you. And who are those 10? Well, you need to get them early. You need to have them running on this. You need to run this entire election campaign on this notion of a coalition that's going to impeach and convict the president.
Yes. Yeah. How do you think this might factor in? Because I want to get your opinion. You and I have had some discussions about this a little bit around, is she positioning herself for a presidential run? What is she doing? Do you see this fitting in ultimately with some of the threats from Elon Musk around an America party? or even a takeover of, say, the libertarian wing to do a true third party run, because I'm trying to get it into the zeitgeist too that we need to fracture the Republican Party on purpose into two nationally recognized parties that are were the Republican Party, which is our current GOP, and the Libertarian Party, which is a separate party itself that just caucuses nationally with the Republicans. Do you see her possibly using this as a front to take over something like that? Or even like the America Party itself with Elon Musk and shit on that? Or are we past constitutionalism with them? And
I think we are at a risk here that these entities, like the Libertarian Party, which is, I haven't looked under the hood enough here, but my belief is that we're looking at a Russian third party supported play here. That it's, the Libertarian wing of the Republicans has lots of roots in the Koch brothers, and their history lies very much with the Russians. So I worry about these existing institutions, and I certainly would never think of Elon Musk should be anywhere near American politics. There should be an American jail. The fact that this man is even considering meddling in another election is beyond belief. I mean, it's clear, I think now, more clear than ever, that what he did in the last round was rig those elections. And then what he did afterwards with Doge is criminal. So, don't get me even started on Musk. I just think what you're saying is absolutely correct. We need credible movement from the people that can really tackle this very urgent moment that we have right now. We have a world that is looking for American leadership, that is worried about plunging into World War III if this current leadership continues. I mean, these stakes are not just a little bit serious, they're existentially serious.
Yeah, and they're globally serious.
Yeah, for all of us, none of us want to face nuclear Armageddon, which is, where Trump is leading us to. So and that's not being an alarmist, actually. I think that's possible. What we need to do is understand that the majority of Americans are in the middle. They're not on the extremes. There is an enormous of understanding between people on the left and the right of what that middle looks like. There's a middle ground that is consensus filled and is easy to get to. But what we need is leaders that can bring those coalitions together. We need people who can take the Marjorie Taylor Greene wing of the Republican Party, and as distasteful as it might be for some people, bring them along with a strong Democratic majority in the House and say, okay, we're going to take down this president on the other side of this election if we can't do it sooner. And then we're going to convict him and his entire regime and make sure they're held accountable on the other side. And for the remaining 2 years, we will have a government of national unity, if you want. Call it whatever you want. A movement run by the people to restore American democracy, born out of the House, born out of the people's elections next year. It's not an undemocratic thing. It's not an unconstitutional thing. It's not a trick. It's the way the Constitution operates. It allows for impeachment. It allows for us to do the important work that we need to do. And it's onerous. I mean, no one wants this job. It's a difficult one, but it's also a long shot, I should say. But we need to do this, Nick. We need to do this.
Yeah, and I think we need to do this fast. And if you're in a state where your filing deadlines have not passed to file for 2026, and you are considering running, do it. File. Yeah. If you need a platform to help raise money and you need to find a way to get the support, come ask me, come DM me, and I'll platform you so you can, and I'll talk to you and I'll do candidate interviews with you. But if you're thinking to run. If you're a pro-democracy person, run. You should be running on the Republican ticket too. If you're in a place where the only way you're going to get any form of traction is either being an independent or a Republican and not living under the Democratic name right away, is run for that office anyway. Because if you win, you fucking won. And if you lose, you probably drew people out to vote for somebody who did win, and it shows a big backlash. And if we can, in the meantime, force people to resign, and I want your thoughts on this, what do you think about an effort to continue targeting, say, weak Republicans and forcing whatever the 140 that we keep hearing about that might consider these things? How do we get them from considering to doing it? What are
I
your
think we
thoughts?
should do exactly what Trump has been doing with moderate Republicans and run and primary these people out of office. I mean, we need to be running strong defenses on both sides, offenses on both sides. And absolutely, Republicans are as appalled, I believe, or a majority of Republicans are as appalled by the presidency as anybody. Democrats are definitely appalled. It doesn't matter which party you're running for. You need to be running against this presidency and be committing to ejecting him from power. And that's where the coalition building needs to happen now. We can't wait until after the election to then strike a deal. The people who we need to be involved in this deal, the people who are running, in the next election, need to sign on before and be committed to it, that they can't back down. It can't be, we changed our mind afterwards. No, this is a platform you are running on, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, and it's necessary because we need 67% of the population, probably a little bit more because the Senate is not equally representative. But we need a lot of people to vote out this presidency, and that's the way it's designed. That's just the way they did it, and they did it for good reason. Now, those are the rules. We have to play by the rules. But for sure, I'm just crying out for the right person in the Democratic world, because it's got to be a Democrat, I believe. It doesn't have to be, but it could be, who can really start doing this, who can marshal the resources and marshal the authority to go across party lines when necessary and build a coalition that is going to absolutely bring America back to its rightful place and away from this ruinous path the current president has placed us on.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I see people putting in the comments like AOC or Jasmine Crockett. Absolutely. I think they're amazingly powerful voices. And I think they could do it. I think America could easily just coalesce around somebody like that, because moderate doesn't mean center right. Moderate doesn't mean committing to fascism or fascism light. Moderate and centered values. I talk about this all the time with Centered America. They call themselves Centered America for a reason, but it's not center right values. It's center dignity values. It's center humanity values. And if we can find people who go on that, like Joe Walsh, let's talk, like Joe Walsh is a great example, or Adam Kinzinger. They're putting a lot of money towards getting people in and running as candidates and running either on the Republican or Democratic ticket. Adam Kinzinger is putting a lot of money into that. We need folks to encourage more of that from people who have more money than, say, me and Zev. And
I can't fund this.
Yeah, I can't fund this. We can crowdsource this and we can try and get some funding for this, but we can also help make the plan behind the scenes. Like that's what we're trying to do. Partly is get not only just a person in place and people in place, because politicians are tools to do the will of the people. They are public servants. They're there to serve the people. And we should be reminding them of that, because they should be afraid of us as voters, not as individuals that we're going to hurt them, but as voters, that we're going to remove them anytime that if they don't do what they said they're going to do. And so we need to talk moderate, or I guess not. We need to talk moderate, but not like, there's got to be a better term for it, because moderate feels fascist light when we say
look, I think it's got to be about unity. I think it's got to be about anti-corruption firstly, and unifying. I mean, I don't care the label you use. You have got to be a leader of distinctive values and ability, one that is able to reach across party lines and build trust amongst everybody involved and build a campaign that everyone can revolve around and be committed to. It can't be someone who is viewed with suspicion. It can be someone who has a history that is questionable. It can't be anyone linked to the Epstein network. It has to be a credible, electable, presidential person. I mean, let's be real about this. We're not going to put someone in that position that is going to fail. What's the point of that? We need someone who is going to rise to the presidency. So that's why I'm saying that 2026 is not just a midterm election. It is a presidential election. It has all the importance of a typical presidential election, and it can, in fact, be the most important presidential election of our time. If this happens, and so it may not succeed, and we may have to struggle for another 2 years of Donald Trump. But okay, we'll do that. At least we'll have tried. If we don't do this and we don't try to do this, we will fail. And that's not acceptable, I think, to the majority of American people who really cannot take any more of this. And there is a level of frustration and a level of, and so, you ask yourself, is AOC the person? I mean, she's actually a very moderate, whatever label you want to use. She doesn't actually vote in an extreme way. I think she's pretty down middle, if you ask me. Is she the electable right now as president? I don't see it personally. I don't think she has the gravitas for the role and the appeal across the entire country to rise to this position at this time. Other people do. And so, is she the right person for now? No, but is she the right person in 2 years from now? Is she the right person in 6 years from now? Probably. She will have earned that responsibility. Right now, I don't see, and I'm speaking purely from a presentation perspective. I just don't see America rallying behind her as the voice of the future, the way they did around Obama, which is what really we're talking about, is that kind of magic, that kind of Q factor, that this is a unique individual who, by the way, I said this earlier, can do this again. I know he's got lots of issues and people will criticize it, all the way up and down. On the other hand, I think there is a loophole, if I'm not mistaken, that as the Speaker of the House, he can ascend to the presidency, maybe, I'm not sure, and into a third term. It might be a little tricky, but I think it might be possible. If that's the line of succession. Before, tricky, but possible.
Never been done, so constitutionally weird, and it would go up to, they would figure it out. They would ram it through so it would work if they tried to do stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. We also have to focus on the Speaker of the House and just who that role is supposed to be. Like, who are the leaders all around? Like, does AOC maybe need to be president? Maybe not this term, but she could be Speaker of the House, or should.
What I'm saying is the Speaker of the House in the next election is the president. We are electing the next president in the Speaker of the House.
Basically. So whoever, and that's really the thing is, if I would love to see it between any powerful Democrat who's actually willing to stand up and do the right things and do it all and live up to the word. If it's AOC, if it's Jasmine Crockett,
it doesn't have to be someone in the House. It doesn't have to be. It can be any American around that you want as the majority elect can be the Speaker of the House. So America should not limit itself to the people running for office in Congress. There are enormously good names in Congress that could fill this role, but there are Americans of all stripes who might be good speakers of the House and who might be unifying this country this time. So not to interrupt you, but I think
that's great. It's a great point. Is the Speaker doesn't have to be an elected member of the House. The Speaker gets to choose whoever, or the House gets to choose whoever they want as Speaker. They also have to be constitutionally able to then assume the role of president. So they could not pick someone like Zohran Mamdani. He could not legally be Speaker of the House in the long run because line of succession would not allow him to be president. He is not a naturally born citizen. They do have to follow some quirky rules. This is where the Constitution gets really weird, and where our rules sometimes get confusing. But yeah, I think we need to be talking bold, big strategy right now, like unseat Mike Johnson. there's more than 9 Republicans out there at this point who would
Oh, yeah.
probably be willing
He may not
to
survive.
sign
He may not
on.
survive the week. Never mind the
Yeah,
month.
like
That no confidence, that I call it a no confidence vote. Is that Epstein
mhm,
vote was a vote of no confidence in the presidency. It was a vote of no confidence in Johnson, in the leadership of the Republican Party. It was defiant and definitive, and it came from the American people.
yeah,
He's done. They're all done. They know. It's just a
yes.
question of, are they going to hold on for 3 years, or are they going to hold on for 1 year? And what's the plan to replace them? And that's,
Mhm.
yeah, certainly, we might get impeachment even in this next year. That might be
Yeah.
possible. We might get impeachment next month, but
Yeah, we might get it next month when the files come out.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, and maybe
or
that's
if they don't push the
yeah.
file, if they don't release the files, that may be the impetus. Or the
Mhm.
fact that they threatened Mark Kelly with treason and seditious treason and death, basically death for saying service members should uphold their oaths. Like, they're
Yeah.
doing stupid things, and we capitalize on those. Like, go check out the Save America movement. I help record a bit of a video that's on either Substack, YouTube. They're going over social media all right now, and we're pushing back on that. That's what it takes: is normal Americans telling Republicans to resign and unseat Mike Johnson. Like, help us unseat Mike Johnson. Like, put that in the zeitgeist. I would love
Yeah.
to see you.
But do it
maybe
sensibly and
we could talk
strategically, because
about that a little bit.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I'm just saying that the difficulty here, and I think Democrats suffer from not thinking strategically all the time, is let's say Republicans sense what's happening right now, that that Trump needs to go. They could all lose their power, or they could work quickly right now, as I think they're doing, to get a Marjorie Taylor Greene as the Speaker of the House and remove the president, impeach the president before the next congressional elections. And then, then she can become president, and then anything can happen. So I think Democrats need to seize this moment, and that's why I called it the fierce urgency of now. This is not one of those things you can decide after the next election, and this is not the kind of thing that you don't go in with a plan. It seems the Republicans have some sort of plan in Marjorie Taylor Greene. They, yes, she seems to have been independently removing herself, but she's part of a movement that is well funded inside the Republican Party that has thought this through. They're jettisoning the president, they're jettisoning Johnson, and they're going to try and make a run for it. Where is the Democratic response to this thing that's happening? And it's vacant. It's not happening, and someone needs to jump into that and start doing something. And if it's not the current leadership, someone on the outside can. There's enough people on the outside who can. And you look at what Newsom did in California with that proposition. Look at the amount of people that showed up because it wasn't against the rules, but they still understood it. They still wanted to make it happen. That is the kind of leadership that we need. Someone who's playing within the rules, but is not playing in tradition. Who is willing to look at the possibilities and take the shots when they come. This is an open shot. The center is open. The presidency is going to be open. The Speaker of the House is going to be, Speakership of the House is going to be open. We need to take it.
Yeah. It sees the opportunity to go on offense. Chris Goldsmith says it really well, is on offense. And we have to be on offense for democracy all the time, or flooding the zone for democracy all the time. And I think that's what we do a lot here. And Zev, I don't know how much time you have.
Not much. I was late, so I apologize.
Yeah. I figured, because you said you had about half an hour today. I want to be able to switch over and let Zev promote himself here too. But I think one of the biggest things about all of this is we are the power. Like, stop asking yourselves what can be done or who's going to do it, and start asking yourself, why am I not doing any of it yet? Why am I not helping? Why am I not working? And why am I not putting out information for democracy? And things like what Zev is doing with Narrative and The Greatest Heist. And I'm thinking of actually just reading through and do like an audio recording of your Greatest Heist, because I think it'll be in like a meaningful book.
Please do. Yeah.
So I'll probably send you something at some point. I'd love to do an audio.
What you're saying is absolutely right, Nick.
It's so important to get this work out there. And so, Zev, I want to hand it over to you to say your final thoughts and sell yourself while we're doing this.
Well, I'll say one thing, Nick. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and you walk the talk, and I just admire everything you do. Um, Look, I'm an American by green card. I am sitting in exile, really, in Toronto. It's not, it's not for me to prescribe um, the future of America, but I'm also an immigrant to America that had to leave America and has not been able to return. And um, I have found myself in a story searching for the truth around Epstein by accident. It turned out to be the most revealing story about America's corruption that has been going on for 5 decades, and I'm trying to unpack it as carefully as I can in this greatest high series that I'm doing. It has completely taken over my life in every in every which way. But it's important for people to understand what has happened to our democracy. That how the country is not living up to its potential right now because it was corrupted about 50 years ago, maybe a little longer, and that corruption has grown into a cancer. It has become the presidency. It has consumed us in so many ways. And mostly it has consumed the American dream. It has taken the future of everyday Americans and their aspirations and their beliefs and values and tarnished them and turned it into now an existential threat to the existence of this republic. So the greatest heist is that story. I publish it on narrative.org. I'm trying to do it in an accessible way that people can understand from any perspective, because it's the big picture of it is kind of hard to believe. You have to get into the nitty gritty to see that they actually did what they did, and this is how they did it. And so I'm trying to unpack that. We're on chapter 3 right now. Otherwise, I do a lot of stuff on narrative.org where I do news there mostly. I do Epstein investigation. I do Five Stack with Dean and Blundell. I do Trump Tourney Tracker with Olga Lautner. I do a lot of evening conversations with people I enjoy, like you and Ellie last night. We had a great time with Ellie Leonard last night on Epstein. There's more coming this week that's really interesting and exciting, looking at the elections of the last elections and how they were probably corrupted. But, I could go on forever. But that's just the place where you find me is at narrative.org, NARATIV.org. And that's where you can find the greatest heist as well.
Thanks, Zev. I appreciate it so much that you come on and you're doing this work. And I want an America where our immigrant friends and those who come to the country with green cards, who naturalize, feel welcome, feel like they want to be here. I want an America where people feel like they want to live here. Like, I don't want Zev to have to live in Canada. As much as Canada is awesome, I want Zev to be able to be in the States again and feel safe and feel comfortable that this is a country that cares and loves him. And I know this audience does, and I know everybody here does. So again, subscribe to Zev too and promote his work.
Can I just say something on that? Because, I spent my entire life trying to get to America, not because I wanted a great career, not because I wanted the money, not because of anything. I wanted to live in a country that was free, truly free. And I believe America is the only really free country in the world. And we need to hold on to that as desperately as we can, because a lot of people are just like me around the world, dying to be in America, who want to live the American dream, not because it's prosperity, it is prosperity potentially, but because it is about freedom. And that's the most valuable thing any human being could want. And so maybe that's a good point to leave it on.
Thanks, Zev. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Nick.
So glad to have you. And finally, come join us at Banner and Backbone here. Zev, thank you for coming on with me. Thank you for letting me co-host last night with you for Ellie to cross-platform.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that was great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
That is an open offer anytime you want to be able to do that. I love the collaboration. I think it is great for both of us in getting the message out for everyone. And so come support us. Thank you for all your time. Thank you, everyone who's being here with us. Go out and do something pro-democratic and go be pro-democracy. Live the dream. spread the message, share, restack, resist, and collaborate. Build those communities strong. And that's what it's about. So as I've started saying, and our new tagline, because I want to start doing a tricentennial action group, is tag You're It for Democracy.
Oh,
thanks, everyone.
I love that. Cheers, Nick. Thanks, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Have a great day.